Today we're going to go through the steps on creating an agent. The agent will effectively look at incoming meeting requests, and if the meeting request doesn't have an agenda or clear reasons why we're having the meeting, it will send an email back to the originator letting them know that you would like to have an idea of what the meeting is for. So let's get started. So I'm going to open up Copilot Studio. This is the preview version. Want to work with the preview features, and we'll go ahead and create a new agent. There's two ways you can do this. You can use the AI to generate the scaffolding for the agent, or you can skip to configuration. We'll go ahead and use the AI to generate the content. So let's try that first. I'm going to copy paste. I have a notepad open. So we're going to ask the meeting agenda agent to review incoming meeting requests and send a professionally toned email to the organizer asking for the meeting agenda if it is missing. We'll give the AI a moment to do its magic. You can see in the right pane, it's starting to write the rules. So it's going to review incoming meeting requests, identify if the meeting agenda is missing, send a professionally toned email to the organizer, ensure that the email is polite and concise, do not send duplicate requests for the same meeting, log the request and response for future reference. Great. It's going to ask what you want to name the agent, and it suggests the meeting agenda assistant. I'd prefer the meeting agenda agent. All right, and it'll ask if you want any more specific behaviors, how it should handle situations for no responses needed. I'm not going to do anything fancy. I'm just going to send that email. So I'll just say no, further. Sorry, can't type this morning. Behavior noted. And I do not want it to access any websites as knowledge sources. We'll just say no. And wait for it to then go ahead and create the basic agent setup. All right. So now that we have the agent created, we'll go ahead and hit create, and it'll set up the agent, and then we'll go enhance the configuration. Now you'll note that it says agent 1. I had previously created this agent and deleted it, so I'm a little surprised that it names it agent 1. There must be a recycle bin, or it must somehow know that I previously had created an agent with the same name, so that's kind of interesting. So we're going to take a look through the settings. By default, it's using GPT-4o. That's fine. We'll use generative AI to how to best respond to users and events. We need that enabled so we can watch things like the debugging and tracing and monitoring. We have no additional knowledge sources. Instructions look like they're still coming in, so we'll see that in a moment. Tools, triggers, so we'll need to add a trigger because we need to let the agent have access to my mailbox so that it can monitor for incoming meeting requests. And we're not doing any agent-to-agent work, so that's so we won't be adding anything under the add agents. We're not really using topics. This is the reason I didn't call it an assistant, is it's not really interactive. This will just run in the background autonomously, so it fits more of an agent nomenclature. All right, now we can see that the instructions are here, and just checking those out. I'm going to replace those with something a little more concise. So I'm going to just cut and paste. Most of it's the same, but I wanted to make sure that the response email includes the title or subject, the date and time of the meeting, and personalizing it. Also indicate that it is an AI-generated email and apologize if it mistakenly sent this response to a non-meeting request, although we're going to configure that, so hopefully that doesn't happen. But I think it's important to let people know that this is an automated system sending that email, so I'll go ahead and save that. All right. So we do need to add two things. One is the trigger so that it is listening on my mailbox, and the other will be a tool so that it could actually send the email. By default, the agent can't do these things. It'll just won't really tell you that it can. It just won't take actions. So let's start with the trigger. My first iteration of this was to try to figure out how to use when a new email arrives, but there is no metadata or obvious way to look into the mail itself to see if this was a meeting request. So instead, I'm going to use a different trigger, and I'll just do the search. When a new event is added, or when a new event is created. This works, I believe, just because the default setting in Exchange or M365 Online for email is to create a tentative appointment on your calendar. I haven't tried it if you change that setting, but by default, that's how it's set up. So we'll pick that one. And then we'll need to do the authentication. Since I've already done this before, it remembers my authentication, but you may need to approve the permissions in order to get the green check marks. So I'll hit next. Here you have to make sure you attach it to the right calendar. By default, the default calendar is calendar. And I'll go ahead and create the trigger. It'll just take a moment. So one thing that we need to do though is by default, this would actually fire even if I'm the originator on a meeting to other people. We don't want that to happen. We only want this to fire when meetings are coming from other people. So we need to go ahead and edit this trigger. We do that in Edit and Power Automate. All right, and it brings up the canvas. So you can see here's the trigger that we added, new event is created, and then here's the response. It will go ahead and send a prompt to the Copilot for processing, and we need to insert a step here, add an action. We're going to look for condition. All right, and then we want to choose our value. So we're going to look for organizer. Now it is going to automatically put the apply to each, because the way that the processing works, it may batch up meeting events. It just doesn't fire in real time. And in this case, I'm going to hard code my email address. And I'm going to do does not start with. One thing to note, when I did not equal to, for some reason on the right side, it puts a new line and it never matches. You can also do things like make sure you enforce lowercase or trim. Not going to do that for this example. Then if the organizer does not start with my account, then I want to do the specified Copilot processing. If not, I just want it to end. So if I'm coming back to the agent tab, now we need to set up the tool. And we're going to look for send an email. And we'll go ahead and add and configure. Okay, and the description is set for us. This operation sends an email message by connection. The subject, and the body are all filled in with AI. We're going to go ahead and leave all of this alone. And at this point, I will go ahead and publish. Note, the way I've created this agent, it includes triggers with my or the author's credentials. So this is not something you want to share with others as a general agent. Otherwise, they will have access to your credentials. I have open Jane's mailbox. She's going to go ahead and create the test meeting request to the system administrator. So we'll create a new event. And we'll invite the system administrator. And we won't put any type of agenda in the meeting request. Now if I flip back to the inbox, we'll see in a few moments that she'll receive an email if the agent is working correctly. If I flip over to the system administrator mailbox, you'll see that the event landed. And I will flip back to Jane's mailbox. And we'll wait for the response. As I mentioned earlier, this isn't necessarily real time, so it does seem like sometimes it takes a little time for it to process. And there we go. So Jane received a Dear Jane, I hope this message finds you well. I'm writing to request the agenda for the upcoming meeting titled Test Event 1, scheduled on July 18th. Could you please provide the purpose and goals? Please note this is an AI-generated email. So you could see that the agent followed all of my instructions and rules pretty well. Now we can do another example where we'll create an appointment, a meeting request, and give it an agenda. And we'll go ahead and send that. I'll flip back to the systems administrator screen so you could see, if I find the right pane here, that the test event 2 has been sent. And unfortunately, you'll also note if I flip back to the Jane's mailbox, then in that case, it actually did send the email as well, even though I did generate an event with some description. So it's going to take a little bit of tweaking to get it right. But I also wanted to show the in the event that system administrator sends something to Jane, that this will not fire. So we'll sort of do the reverse operation here, in which case we would not expect the system administrator to receive an email. So one of the things we can do is we can go back and take a look at both the flow. So if you look at when the new event is created, we can see and walk through those flows. So let's open one of those up and see how it looks. So when a new event's created, and you can see all the information. So this was test event 2, and we can try to debug why it decided to respond. So we can look at the condition, and in this case it did match, meaning the originator was in fact not the system administrator. So we can see that what branch that took and why it was successfully created. And it looks like maybe our next run just fired off. So again, we can take a look at this, and this is the test event. So we would expect this one to not, and that did its job. So the originator was system administrator, so therefore it did not go down the branch with the agent, the generative AI response. So that's good that we know it's not firing when it shouldn't. However, it seems like it might need some more help in that it's firing off when there is a meeting agenda. So again, maybe have to give it a little more information or tweak this to have it better understand what we're looking for. All right, I made a small adjustment to the instructions to be very clear, only when the agenda is missing. And if they are included, do not send. So both a positive and negative instruction. So let's go ahead and give that another try. So we'll go back to Jane's calendar, create another test event. All right, go ahead and send that and see if the updated instructions do any better. Okay, so the event has landed on the calendars. And while we're waiting, we can also take a look back at the system administrators, the agent creation screen, and look at activity. And we could see the different runs, and you can use this to help debug. So in this case, it looks like one just came in. If we click on it, we can see what the flow was. So this was test event 3, and in this case, you could see that it did not trigger the response of send an email. So it looks like my updated instructions were helpful to the AI, and it did not, in fact, send an email back to Jane. So it's working a little better. And that's what I've discovered working, creating these agents, is it takes a little time to tweak and update and test and make sure it's working how you expect it to. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I plan on making some additional videos soon.